What's going on, everybody? David here from Bluckers Videos and Toys, and today we are going to be checking out the Jurassic World Rebirth Strike Attack Nanotyrannus. Now, this was part of the Jurassic World Rebirth line that Mattel released in 2025. So if you missed out on this release, you have a second chance with the upcoming Jurassic World Survival line when they have this as a repack. So you can finally get you a chance to pick this little guy up if you didn't the first time around. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, this little guy was a hot topic in 2025. It's a little bit of controversy, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. So this is your basic standard Strike Attack packaging, and right here in the top right hand corner you have a photo image of the figure and with the action feature, and I'm showing you how to do it. And then here in the middle you have the figure itself, and then on the top right hand corner you have ages 4 and up, that's me, along with a barcode here on the side. And then at the bottom here you got the Jurassic World logo Rebirth, and then you got Strike Attack Combat Extreme Nanotyrannus, and then on the bottom right hand corner you have the Spinosaurus along with the Mattel logo. And then as far as the card back goes, you got the red striping, you get the black striping that goes all the way down here, along with the gray and white striping. And here along the side you have a window that that's wet, so it could either be that it rained or it could be dewdrops from the morning. So here on the card back in the background, you got the forest right there along with the mountain, and then you got the sunset, or it could be the sun rising, hence the dewdrops, if that's what it is. If that's what they're going for. And then here at the bottom, here's all the copyright information and logos. And then here you got Jurassic World Rebirth logo there, and then you got all the recycle information there. And of course, my card back is all warped and stuff. It's okay. And then here on the back you have the Jurassic World logo here on the top left hand corner, and then here on the top you got Strike Attack Combat Extreme Nanotyrannus, and then here it says Chomping Action, and then there's the picture again, and it shows you how to activate the feature. And then here is all the fax app information right there. And then here's all the other species that were in this particular line. So I don't have that. I'm contemplating picking that up. I don't need this because I have more than enough Herrerasaurus, even though it's a different gimmick. And then we did do a review of the Achillobator, so if you want to check that out, please do. All right, so let's go ahead and get this little guy out and take a closer look at it. Alright, so we got the little guy out, and what I mentioned earlier is that back in 2025 it was a big controversy, hot topic for this little guy, mainly because I don't know all the details, but I do know from what I've read and what I've listened to in some certain videos is that mainly they were trying to find the classification for this particular species. So originally they classified it as part of the Allosauridae family, but then they ended up supposedly classifying it as part of the Tyrannosauridae family, because that was mainly the main issue. I'm sure there's other things, but the highlight of the whole controversy was the classification of what part of the family does this particular species go in. Because one, it looks like a little bitty T-Rex, but the only thing different is that it's got a longer snout. They made it look like it's a baby T-Rex from the figure itself, but in reality, this thing probably looks more as it should have its own classification, to be honest, because the snout it's a little bit longer and everything. So these guys were scavengers. But aside from that, so the Nanotyrannus lived in the late Cretaceous period along the Hell Creek Formation. So when it comes to comparisons, I got a lot of species that we can pair it up with and stuff. So I'm excited, because that's that's where most of the common dinosaurs that we know came from that particular formation. So that's really cool. So, but other than that, like I said, they finally classified it as part of the Tyrannosauridae family, which is interesting in itself. All right, so I do love the way this coloration is. It's different, unique, and I like how they presented this thing. So it is a smaller species, and this is like the little scavengers and stuff. So I do like the light blue coloration, and then the airbrushing here along the neck and part of its back here. And I do like the dark navy blue. I guess you could say that's navy blue. Or dark blue coloration here along the stomach, legs, and tail and everything. So as far as the detail goes, it looks really good. And then the eyes are on point, And then I do like the teeth, how the teeth are looking as well. So let's go ahead and there we go. So the teeth are done very well in this particular figure. So it's a beautiful sculpt, beautiful figure. So I really do like this a lot. So, and you could tell that it's got some osteoderms going down along the back and tail right there. It's so, then, the hind legs got that deep cut right there. And then not so much on this side right here. And then you got the stomach with the rib cage and everything. And you got the lining here. So that's really cool. And then you got the thick arms. So, and then the feet right there. Of course, none of that stuff is painted. So I do like that a lot. And then here's the head sculpt right there. So I got the osteoderms here on the back of the jaw. The detail is incredible. So you could tell that it looks like a Tyrannosaurus, but in reality it's not, because like I said, it's got a thinner head and the longer elongated jaw a little bit. So, but because of how the species looked and the hands and stuff, I guess they decided to put it in the Tyrannosauridae family. So which I find interesting because to me, I don't think it is, but that's just me. But I'm not a paleontologist. But overall, it's a great looking figure. So as far as way of articulation goes, the arms go up and down, and then the legs move up and down too. Not so much, because of the action feature. But this one moves pretty well. But yep, there it goes. So, and then here is the fax app. If I can get that, there you go. I hope y'all can get that. So there it is. So, but as far as the action feature goes, there you go. So you just move the tail back and forth. So basically, you move the tail this way, and it just gives you a side bite. So, but I do like that. If you look at the jaw, that looks great. Teeth. They did a wonderful job with the teeth for such a small figure. So, looks great. All right, so with that being said, let's do some comparisons. All right, first up, we have to include the king of dinosaurs, the T-Rex. King, queen of dinosaurs, the T-Rex, Rexy. So, of course, this is where they classified it at, so it only makes sense. But But yeah, so I like that a lot. You know, you can tell how small they are and everything. They might be a little bit smaller, you know. But yeah. So next up is that lived alongside. Like I said, they found this particular species, and I'm sure there's other areas, but it's most common in Hell Creek Formation. We got the Triceratops that lived alongside it. You know, along with the Ankylosaur. So I'll just have to adjust accordingly. So there we go. We'll just slide that over here. And then, even though as small as this is, this should be about as big as the T-Rex, to be honest. And I doubt they ever will, but hopefully, maybe one day they will. But this is the Edmontosaurus. This is like small, way too small. And the Edmontosaurus should be about the size of the T-Rex, you know, if I'm being honest. All right, so let's move that in there. And then also what lived alongside it is the Pachycephalosaurus. There. And then also we have the Stygimoloch. And then you have, last but not least, you have the Dracorex. So you have all these interesting species from the Hell Creek Formation, you know, that's really cool. So these are a lot of the species that lived alongside it that I have in my collection. So that's cool. I really do like this a lot, you know. So you got the Ankylosaurus, Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Edmontosaurus, Pachycephalosaurus, Stygimoloch, and the Dracorex. So this, I think I have a few others. I just didn't grab them, you know. But these were like some of the main ones that lived alongside it. And last but not least, the last comparison that we have is Alan Grant, and that's size accurate. Close. Might be a tad bit smaller, but that's about pretty close to how big the Nanotyrannus is compared to a human. So not that bad, you know. Actually, I think, yeah, that might be accurate. That might be pretty close, you know, to the real thing. So, but yeah, unless if you want to classify this as a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex, I mean, you could do that too, I guess, you know. Use your imagination, I guess. But yeah, that's about right when it comes to the scaling of the actual Nanotyrannus, you know. So that's pretty much pretty close. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this review as much as I did filming it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this little guy, and if you're looking for it or if you're trying to add this to your collection. But like I mentioned earlier, you know, if you're looking for this guy and you missed out on the initial release from the Rebirth line, check the Survival line. They should be coming out fairly soon at the time of this recording. And don't forget, where's the wisdom? Buy what you love and not what you like, because if you buy what you like, you always end up getting rid of it. And I will catch y'all later.